Another video of MD mapping, and today we're going to do what if the Russian Revolution didn't happen during World War One. In this video it's going to be a bit more of a historical one based on the other videos I've done in this channel. So we're going to go to 1914. I think we're just going to do 1914 Europe because it's a bit simpler and a bit easier to understand. So we start off in, I'm going to say the war still happens the exact same way. I don't see any need to change that. So yeah, if you didn't know how the war starts, Serbia, Austrian Duke gets shot in Serbian borders. They blame it on Serbia. So then they accuse Serbia of technically starting the war. Serbia accuse them. And then it's kind of like an allies joining kind of thing. So like, oh, if you're gonna do Serbia, then I'm gonna do like I'll show you what I mean. So Russia joined the war on the side of Serbia, and then and Germany joined the war on the side of Austria-Hungary. France joined the war on the side of Russia. It's more complicated than that, but if you want to look into it, just look it up. It's quite interesting in my opinion. And then United Kingdom don't join yet, but they do join a bit later. Same with the Ottoman Empire, same with Bulgaria. So, yeah. So in the start of the war, we're going to have the same kind of thing happen. Austria makes small movements on Serbia. And that's basically it. Oh, Montenegro also joined the war on the side of Serbia. So yeah, so Germany's plan was to take out France and then turn on Russia and take them out. And to do that, they go through Belgium and Luxembourg, but mostly just Belgium. And the reason this is important is, or it gets around French defences, which is what Germany's trying to do, but also the United Kingdom joined the war because of them invading Belgium. So now it's a bit, more even in a way. I don't know. Russia makes some advances on this, but Germany kind of invade more. So what we're going to do in this scenario is we're just going to make the war last shorter, or less long, which will lead for the Russian Revolution to not happen during World War One, which means they'll still be able to go to the peace treaty, which would mean they have much more power in Europe. So we'll say that Russia still lose their land, a bit of land in Germany, and the war kind of goes on. And we'll say one Ottoman joined the war. So one thing that I'm going to change here to make their position better in the peace deal and to make there less rebellions is that Bulgaria doesn't join the war, because that was part of the reason why Romania got overtaxed. And there's a couple of reasons why Bulgaria may not join the war. And that's basically if the blue team aren't losing. So we'll make that somehow, this isn't meant to be realistic, but somehow they predict the German invasion into Belgium, and then they have troops already kind of flowing in. So they kind of stop the advance, not completely, but quite effectively for quite a long time. And they eventually take Belgium, but by the time they've done that, France have really mobilised quite fully, and UK have done also. So the Germany still makes some advances, but basically none. So yeah, kind of a failed attempt in that side, and they don't take as much from Germany as in our timeline. I don't see any reason of changing what happened in our timeline in Ottomans. I'm pretty sure Russia were winning in that for some of it, so that's fine. We'll say Greece still joins the war, and this is not very realistic. The most realistic thing that happened is obviously the timeline that did actually happen. So then Italy still joined the war on the blue team, not the red team, even though in this it says they're allies because they were allies at the beginning of the war. They basically betrayed them. So, and we'll say Italy does a tiny bit better in this in the war, which means Germany has to send a bit more troops. Sorry, I'm speaking quite quickly. I'll slow down a bit. So Romania, we'll say, doesn't surrender, obviously, which will help Russia's cause, I would say, because they have a bit more defenders on this border. And they just overall don't collapse, and then it ends much quicker, the war. I don't want this to be too long a video. It's going to be a longer video, but normally this kind of video take a long time, and so I'm shortening it a bit by not really going in depth on the war. But as I said, you can look up more about the war, World War One, if you want to. So in this it says Finland are a puppet of Russia. In lots of maps I see, Finland are part of Russia. So I'm just going to skip to the peace deals in this because I feel like, just to move it along a bit. So in this I'm going to go to 1914 and we're going to make a peace deal from this. So the Ottomans will still be completely destroyed. But now with Russia at the peace deal, they will take... I think they'll stop them from taking Constantinople. I don't think the UK would allow that to happen, but they would probably take like quite a big chunk of land. The Italians, now with Russia not losing in the war, I would say that the Ottomans don't have their whole fight back against the powers and make Turkey, which is what happened in our timeline. So the Italians will still get their southern portion of the Ottoman Empire. Then you'd have the Syria. This is just French, but you kind of get the point that they get completely destroyed still. Just Russia part of the peace deal in this as well, which means they don't gain all the territory back. So, that's the Ottoman peace treaty kind of done. In this, obviously, the UK also get some land. They get Iraq, I think. So, but that's unimportant. And then Russia will also probably gain, instead of Poland being created as a state, it'll most likely be Russia take over what would normally be Poland. So they'd take I don't know how much land it actually was. This is just a rough border. But we'll say that they took this land. I don't know, just a rough thing. And then we'll do the... Wait, no, they... in this one, actually, no, I'm going to say Russia and get Kaliningrad as well, which is different to our timeline. And then the French will still get Alsace-Lorraine, which is hard to draw on this kind of map. I did my best, I think. Belgium will still gain the random area there. Don't know what it's called, I'm going to be honest. The Ottomans the Austro-Hungarians will still be completely destroyed into many states. So they'll have the Austrians, don't know. The Italians will gain, I'd say, this land, and still they would gain that land. Because they did a bit better, we'll also say they do gain that. Serbia will join Montenegro and then Bosnia and everything. But again, I'm not going to fully do that. I'm just going to focus on Russia because this video is about Russia. And they're going to gain the whole of this area. Romania are going to gain this land, I'd say, for being in this war. I don't know. It's quite hard to predict what would actually happen because obviously it's not a true scenario. But as I said, I'm focusing mostly on Russia. They'll have a massive alliance with Serbia, Romania, and some other nations that will be here. The UK will gain what they got in our time. Yeah, nothing else will really change. I'd say Denmark will still gain their land up to there, I think it was. And yeah, I think it's confusing. But the point is, actually no, because Russia will. Okay, there's one more change that will happen, which is Bulgaria will become a state because Russia. So what happened in our timeline was the USA were all like every nation like you should give some not like be friendly to them, but like don't over punish Germany. The UK were kind of like in the middle of them, and then France was like, we have to completely get rid of the whole of them. I'd say France would also gain, which is the Saarland. I think that's what it's called. But the point is, Russia would be on the side of France in this debate, so they would probably lose Bulgaria. I don't know. Why not? Yeah, we'll just say that, which is basically southern Germany. We'll say they gain a bit more land than even that. And then, yeah, I'd say that's done. Obviously, I didn't finish it. The Ottomans would be more destroyed. The Austro-Hungarians would be more destroyed. But I basically did it. So now we're going to talk about after effects of the war. So it's very hard to see any scenario of Russia not still having a rebellion, because it's not just about losing World War One or losing in World War One. It's also loads of internal issues. So I'd say they still have their rebellion, which is the Soviets, and I'll do that now. Okay? I'll just spawn in a. So I'm trying to do this. Okay, yeah, I think that works. So the Soviets will spawn. I'll call them, rename Soviets, or Soviet Union, and they would still form. But this is after World War One, so there's no Poland and stuff. So Soviet Union gonna just like gonna take quite a lot. So we'll say that they kind of take this. I'll change them to red because that's what the color they are, not pink normally in world maps, because communism is associated with the color red, and the Soviet Union were communist, if you didn't know. I'm actually going to say they win the war in this, but as they're doing so, they get some rebellion. So Poland will probably rebel. There'll be Finnish would rebel. Don't know what that was. Right, no, actually, we'll say no. We'll say that we'll just say that they did rebel, but you can't see it in this because it's quite complicated to do all their borders and everything. So this is not the most detailed one out there, but I hope it's still good, this video. Then we'll have Ukraine, and the point is that the Soviet Union will have like loads of rebellions to handle. But I say in this timeline, because they have like more power from the war, they would be able to take it all still. So yeah, and that's great for them, obviously. But then they would kind of lose their relationship with the rest of the world. And we're going to go now to a World War II map, but put our changes into it, because I think that works for our next form of thing. What we're next doing. So here Finland have their borders, but I'm going to say that Poland would probably be taken, as well as I'll zoom in. What's modern day Kaliningrad? Oh, I'll go back. Sorry. I just accidentally made them annex Germany, which is not realistic. So yeah, they'll take Kaliningrad, which is the area that's now owned by Russia, modern day, which is roughly this area. Get rid of Danzig. So yeah, I'll make the borders a bit better by using. You can make the brush smaller, so that's kind of good for making precise borders. Because otherwise it's really hard to do. So yeah, they take out Poland. Like in our scenario, they got the proper borders here. Bulgaria will be a country. Sorry, this is taking a long while. Okay. Vote. Rename. Bulgaria. Sorry, I'm not great at spelling. But I think I got that right. And then we'll have Czechoslovakia would still be a country, but I would say that they would take quite a bit of land from this. I would say the top of Slovakia and the top of Romania, because they were in the war, so they'd be able to negotiate for themselves what they would want. They would also obviously have the top of Turkey. I'd say like all the way from like that. So yeah, that would be the borders, I would say. I don't think they would be able to get Finland. No, I would say they would be able to get the free Balkan. No. Oh, Balkan or what's the other one? Baltic states. Spain nationalists versus Spain Republicans going on. So I did actually mention in my last video. If you haven't watched that, go watch that. I think it's quite good. I think it's just telling you about this game. We have proper coverage of Palestine, that's actually done correctly. But I'm now going to put the Italian border in, which was, I think, something like this. And I said Greece would still join the war, and I say because they would probably have that. Then you have Yugoslavia, which I tried to make, but I would say Italy, because they did a bit better in the war, gains that from them, which makes a rivalry between Italy and Yugoslavia. There's a chance that Austria would be given Bulgaria, but I wouldn't say they would be. Then we add France getting the Saarland. Denmark's border didn't go down as much as I thought it did. So yeah, we'll stick with that, and we'll go into what the next thing would be, which is kind of World War III. World War II. I don't know why I say World War III. So in Germany would have a much harder time. Just starting it. So the first thing they would do is probably invade Bulgaria, or put troops in Bulgaria, and Bulgaria would be in open arms, I'd say, for Germany, and they would just take them, and not wanting to they would do appeasement still, I'd say, but because because France have got a bit more and a bit harsher on Germany, I'd say the Germans, when they tried to go into Austria, were like, you can't do that, and for I would say they still would, and they would still give. So Germany is still kind of making themselves up. I'm going to give them forgot what it's called, but the highly German population. But as soon as they start to be like, okay, I can do anything, they invade Czechoslovakia. They would declare war, and the Soviets, because there's no Poland, would actually support no one really. So they didn't have that help in the Czechoslovakian bit, and then I would say they don't even get to finish Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia would then surrender, but this is a much weaker Germany because they had to do much more, like getting into their territory. They started the war much earlier. The Allies started the war much earlier, and then Yugoslavia probably joined the war straight away, as well as Romania. I'd say it would be like kind of a pact, and then they would have Hungary would probably be able to join them. So they'd have this team versus this team, and the Soviets would be neutral. Turkey obviously were neutral in World War II in our timeline, but they may join in. Bulgaria would probably join in on the side of the Axis, or Germany. I can be mostly sure about that. They did in our timeline, and I don't think too much has changed to change that. But then again, in real life, butterfly effects would be much more, so this wouldn't happen. But like, this is the most likely possibility out of very unlikely possibilities, and it may not even be. This is just my scenario on it. So then Germany would they would hate the Soviets even more because they own Poland and they own Kaliningrad, and they took even more from Germany. So Germany have a massive hatred over the Soviet Union, even more than in our timeline. So they would still do their strategy of going through the Netherlands and going through Belgium. But they would obviously have more time. So Netherlands would probably not have the support, but Belgium would have a tiny bit more support. They'd still probably be overrun quite quickly using Blitzkrieg, but I wouldn't say France surrenders as quickly as they did, or Paris won't be as taken as quickly as it did. Germany would still see a lot of success at the beginning of the war, but I would say that France would be able to hold them off a tiny bit better, and that would kind of flaunt Hitler's plans a tiny bit. And then I'd say the Soviets would join without Germany invading them, purely because of probably some stuff Hitler said about the Russian place. Let's say it gets out. This is a completely fictional scenario, by the way. And then they join the Allies much earlier. I would say they would. And then they kind of come in already. It's much quicker. Actually, Romania joining them doesn't really make sense. They'll probably join the Axis. But anyway, you get the point. And it would be a much easier win for the Allies. In my guess, the Soviets would then still get the land, but then eventually there'd be quite a lot of rebellions, and you kind of get the point. This wasn't meant to be like the most realistic one out of them. It should really be if I'm doing history, but I kind of just decided to do even more of a what if scenario than just like make it a bit more factual. But I feel like it was still had some facts in it, and I hope you learned quite a lot. So please like and subscribe, and look into World War One, more World War Two, because even though they're not really extremely bad points in history, especially World War Two, they are quite interesting, and just seeing the diplomatic relationships between countries, I think, is very interesting. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a fun day today. I don't know. I should probably end it now. So, thank you for watching, and like and subscribe if you want to.